welcome to Relate to You. Thank you so much for being here with us again. For this episode, we're going to continue off of our, 3-4 episodes ago, where we started with the Beatitudes. So we're going to have the second part and last part of the Beatitudes. We're going to go over the rest. So let's get right into it. We left on mercy. So the following Beatitude is, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Very good. All right. So for me, right there, the first step is pure in heart. I think that's where I was like, what does that even mean? You know, for you, what does pure in heart mean?
This is a podcast that I feel like is for a lot of adults. So if there's young people, I apologize. But whenever I thought about purity, I always would think of sexual purity.
Oh.
So a lot of the times when I would read purity and stuff like that, I would always think of lustful thoughts of maybe, like those are the things you're trying to stay away from.
Yeah.
Puro es alguien que no pensaría like perverted thoughts,
Mm-hmm,
right?
Mm-hmm.
But as I've grown up, I feel like purity goes beyond that.
Yes.
It's more than just, perverted thoughts in a sexual nature. I think it's also the purity of your perception of someone else's motive, perhaps. The purity in perception as to, in other words, I believe that people who are pure at heart normally think the best in people first. I think that they are the kinds of people that they don't think the worst thing first. They don't think, this person would try to, manipulate this, and they're not cynics. They're pure. They're almost innocent, or maybe not innocent in the sense that it's like they're like sheltered or unaware of reality, but that in their hearts, because they want to see it, they choose to think well of others. I think that's one thing.
So not that they're unaware of reality and of the nature of people and how cruel people can be, but that they're always hopeful that people will show their best.
Yes, because I think that it is a misconception to think that you're either born pure or that's it. I used to think like that. I used to think, Lord, I struggle with this or I struggle with that, and so therefore I will never be able to be pure. The simple fact that I had that one thought, that already puts me in a category of the impure group. Those who are pure have lived their lives like Snow White and just been very I would never think like that. I would never say that word. I don't think that's what it means. I think that there are people who are grounded in the realities of this world. They're grounded and understand sin and the enemy, but porque temen a Dios, I don't believe, or I'm choosing to understand it this way. I feel like they're going to think of a good, pure, praiseworthy thought first. So, for example, you send me a message. I didn't like the tone. and my first gut instinct is like, whoa, what's wrong? You have an attitude. I feel like someone actively trying to be working with purity would be like, she's probably having a bad day.
So you justify.
I don't know if justify, but rather why it's a message. Why am I going to assume right off the bat that you are trying to start something with me? Maybe pure at heart is, you know what, if they have something to say, they'll say it. I'm going to brush over that and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to think the best in her, that it was probably just an extra period. But now let's take that to, in real life with other people, and not being cynical and not being like, you know what, that sister probably did mean that. Or I don't know, I guess for me, it's just someone who's actively trying to seek good, trying to be
no,
you know what I'm saying?
I get you 100%, and I agree. That is why I have a hard time with that one.
No, I agree.
That is why I have a hard time with that one, because I've said this in the podcast multiple times. I do tend to be very guarded with certain people. Very like, this person has shown me before who they truly are. So, you know, but I agree that a person that is pure in heart will think pure thoughts about even that person. And that is very, very hard. Pero sabes también que he pensado, y lo digo fully knowing that I lack in this manner, that you tend to look in people for what you have. So, cuando tú oyes a mí, cuando yo me he oído a mí misma hablar de alguien, a veces sí en la noche sí digo, interesting. Hablé de alguien, or I pointed something wrong with that person or their attitude or whatever, y me quedo, y no te miento, un día después, 2 días después, hago lo mismo. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Es que es bien fácil apuntar a otra persona. Like, you know, for me, it's like, what are their motives? Why are they really doing what they're doing? But then it's like, are your motives always pure?
Exactly.
Are they really always selfless?
And so then I'm always like, man, o sea, Dios obviamente me vino a callar la boca. Y entonces cuando ya tienes esa idea de I'm gonna look in people for what's within me, you best believe you need to be looking for good stuff. You best believe you need to start thinking of people in good terms, porque eso es como yo quiero pensar de mí. You know, eso es como yo quiero. I want to think of myself high. And not in a boastful manner, not in a prideful manner, but porque soy hija de Dios, porque quiero representar a Dios. Entonces, si estamos hablando de alguien y yo digo, pues entonces eso también yo lo estoy sacando de mí, porque es lo primerito que vi.
Right.
Es lo primerito que... Cuando tú ves a alguien o algo, let's say a painting or whatever, even clothing, you know, you're shopping for clothing. Lo primerito que ves es a lo que te gusta. Y en lo que no te gusta, los defectos. Es que tiene esto, es que tiene que tener otro. Pues es lo que no te gusta, right? So, lo mismo con la gente. A veces somos bien rápidos. Yo soy bien rápida a decir, ay, es que esto, es que aquello, es que lo otro, es que es bien así, es que es bien así, es que, ay, esa hermana es bien difícil, bla, bla, bla. Pero también no me paro a pensar, bueno, a lo mejor yo soy la difícil. Bueno, a lo mejor yo estoy siendo una piedra de tropiezo para esa hermana. Yeah. ¿Verdad? ¿Quién quita y el problema ni siquiera sea la hermana, soy yo?
Pues también, entonces lo que estás diciendo también es que la pureza va más allá de cómo tú actúas con las otras personas, pero también pureza es actualmente estar aware, conscientes de cómo tú eres.
Yes.
Y cómo tú estás viviendo tu vida.
Mm-hmm.
Entonces, like, before I say anything else, I need to deal with my issue first. Yeah, I do believe those people will see God. I think, you know, sometimes I think of like how sometimes los chismes ya no nos afectan. We're like, oh man, guess who got pregnant? It's like, oh really? Oh man, I could see that happening. Ahora ya no es like, santo Dios, que Dios los ayude. Ay no, qué triste que están en esta situación and blah blah blah, you know, or we hear some crazy things of people happening in life and we're just like, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that makes sense. No way. And it's not even a shock anymore. It doesn't even hurt us about, you know, the sin that you hear or the situations that you hear.
¿Y sabes por qué? Porque there's worse things.
No, of course there's always worse things.
Pero, o sea, a lo que voy es que estamos a tal grado de pecado y de cosas que pasan que te llegan cosas que you're like,
True. At this point it's like, well,
it could be
at
worse.
least it's not this.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
Right.
Entonces, sí, en un mundo así, tener un corazón puro, está bien.
No es imposible.
Difícil. No es imposible. No es imposible, pero that'll be a challenge.
Pero es diferente.
I know it's a challenge for me.
Pero qué promesa tan hermosa que estas personas, dice la palabra de Dios, que verán a Dios. Y yo, when I read that part, I'm like, I don't believe it just means that these people will see God in eternity.
No.
For me, because it's like all the promises in the Beatitudes have a sense of salvation attached to it, kingdom attached to it, seeing God, being with God attached to it. I feel like it's like verás a Dios en todo. Verás a Dios en tu trabajo, con tu familia, con tu vida, en tu salud. Estas personas verán a Dios. Like, qué promesa tan hermosa, pero qué tan difícil para hacerlo.
Pues es que tiene que ser difícil porque si no, no lo saborearíamos.
True.
Tiene que ser difícil porque si no, no veríamos a Dios. No veríamos. A lo mejor podríamos hasta decir, oh, fui yo. Con mi propio esfuerzo. Porque se me dio tan fácil. Porque yo siempre he sido pura de corazón. No, tiene que costarnos algo para decir yo sola no hubiera podido.
Una persona pura no pudiera decir eso.
Exacto. Exacto.
Right.
Man,
are you pure?
Am I pure? Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God.
Do you, Lula, start fights or make peace?
I feel like I don't make peace, but I don't start fights.
You never start a fight?
No. Have I? Yes, of course I have. But I tend to not to. But I think where I lack is that once we're on, I don't stop.
Ahí está.
Eso es that once.
Like, I didn't start it, but I'll finish it.
Exactly. And I won't finish it in a peaceful manner sometimes. So I think with you and I have morphed. In the aspect, I feel like when we first started our friendship, and we've said this before, but I feel like you would bring up issues and I would be the peacemaker, but I don't think I would necessarily bring peace. I would bring more of like, okay, shut up.
Yeah. I was so afraid of her at the beginning.
And so I would be more of like, I'm going to tell you this so you shut up.
Yeah. And I'd be like, okay, you're right.
Yes, exactly. And so I don't think it was necessarily that I was the peacemaker in our relationship at the beginning. I was just the one that was going to be like, oh, you want to fight. You want to pick at something in me. Well, you're going to...
You're going to get the wrath, the full wrath.
Yes. Now, I feel like we've morphed and we've learned and we've matured también.
Ya no le tengo miedo.
Una ya se cree cheeky. She's cheeky with me. But I feel like now I do think both of us do the peacemaking.
We're like, I don't want to fight. Not this week.
Yeah. And I feel like both of us are like, you know what? Yeah.
I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong.
But at the same time, I don't think we just say it to like, ¿cómo te diré?
End the conversation.
To end the conversation. No. We honestly do think there's been so many arguments where we're never ending of like, I'm sorry, no, but I'm sorry. No, but like I shouldn't have said this. No, but I shouldn't have said this. No, but you know what? I shouldn't even have begun, like, you know, and so I feel like now we truly want peace. We truly do make the peace. Now, is that something we carried with all our other relationships? I'm not too sure, right? I feel like we do that with ourselves because we porque lo hacemos mucho through text. And I feel like through text is less tension.
It has saved us so much, guys.
Yes.
Because, okay, I'll be honest. I'll be honest. There's so many times that, like, we're like, okay, we're having a fight. And then I'm like, she doesn't know how my tone was. She really doesn't know what my tone was. She could be reacting like this because this is how her brain is telling her that I'm acting. So I'll throw a laugh out loud. And then that throws her off. And she's like, oh, wait, we're not fighting. If you laughed, then maybe I am taking this a certain way. That has helped us a lot. Because when you Marco or you're in person, there's no questioning what your tone was. It's like, no, this is what you meant. This is how you spoke. This is how you sounded. So we're having a problem. That's why I feel like in real life with other people, we struggle.
Yes.
But I also think that one of the things that I think works in our relationship, even when my extra period, I did mean that period, is that I've learned that when I am vulnerable with you and I stop beating around the bush and I'm telling you, this is exactly what's wrong, you always meet me there. and you're always like, I can see why you're feeling the way you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has that reaction. Even when you have a honest, vulnerable situation with some people, and I think it's years of our friendship, and you're saying, the reason why we're having an issue is because you hurt me. I feel hurt by you. I'm telling you, I feel hurt by you. Sometimes the reaction is, why are you giving me that power? That is your fault that you felt like that.
Mm-hmm.
I had that with, recently with someone, and it's like, oh, now it's my fault that I felt this way.
Mm-hmm.
You have no responsibility in the situation. All right. So you're not always going to be met in that way.
Yeah.
But I feel like when it comes to peacemaking, it goes beyond just avoiding fights or de-escalating fights. I think what this is also trying to say is, blessed are the peacemakers is, for example, you're in a group of people and there was a noche de adoración and there's 7 people. 4 of those people thought the event was trash.
I know where you're getting at.
It was horrible. The music was off. Why would they even do this? What was Pastor thinking? Lula's management has gotten really bad, man. And these songs, man, they're so old school. And like, what about the new stuff? 4 people out of the 6, meaning there's only 2.
Mm-hmm.
You could be the peacemaker and say, you know what? I actually think it was a great event.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was positive. I think people's lives were changed. I think it was old school, but I think sometimes we need that. Less is more. Simple is better.
Yes.
I think Pastor's doing a phenomenal job.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot on his plate. I think our worship director's doing a great job. I think Lula's management skills have been better than they ever have. Do we do that?
Porque es más fácil irte con las otras 4 personas.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also part of being a peacemaker.
Absolutely.
When things are happening at work, in your secular job, not involving with I've seen this in my job. There's a new change. Todo mundo is like, oh my gosh, why this change? And I'm like, this could be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
This could help us. This could help efficiency. No, but we have to relearn a whole new system. Yes, but the system is actually going to help you in the long run.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, I think peacemakers is la historia de los espías. 10 came back
with a negative
mindset, and 2 came back with a positive report.
Mm-hmm.
But because of those 10, everyone had to pay.
Mm-hmm.
People that were nowhere near the promised land had to pay 40 years because of their negative report. What is your negative report affecting?
Yeah. Oof.
In your job,
yes,
in your home, and in your church.
In the church, I agree. I think peacemaking, and then if we take it farther, even peacemaking is like, ¿cómo haces to get your point across without hurting others? Right? And I say this as an administrator. How do you tell someone, like we need to pick up this, or we need, like, pues ya, to not beat around the bush, ¿cómo le hacemos para mejorar? ¿Verdad? O sea, to say that to someone es bien difícil a veces, porque tú no sabes the headspace en el que la otra persona lo va a recibir. Tú no sabes la vida en la que está viviendo,
right,
cómo lo va a tomar. Entonces, para siempre tener cuidado del corazón de la otra persona, el tener el cuidado de que no lastimes a esa otra persona, eso también es peacemaking. I think peacemaking también es como, por ejemplo, y me voy a sonar un poquito, ¿cómo se puede decir? Hasta legalista a lo mejor, pero peacemaking también puede ser, si ya te han dicho, if they've told you that, for example, let's say I play an instrument, toco los palitos, ¿verdad? And I'm off tune, ¿verdad? Y si ya me han dicho, hermana, like, no le queremos quitar su instrumento, usted toque, you can play, but maybe in the back, because the musicians, you throw off the musicians. I think that's peacemaking. Me understanding.
Compromiso. Compromise, no compromiso.
To compromise. Me
Coming to a middle.
Yeah, me understanding, hey, you know, like, I love to do that. I love to play. I'm not gonna, like, no one should tell me to stop. But si también estoy haciendo un desorden en el servicio, maybe I should do it in the back, you know?
Es que teniendo paz con la gente, siempre, a veces más bien, puedo decir, tiene mucho que ver con que tú y lo que tú quieres no sea parte de la conversación. So, for example, like, I'm thinking, because I currently struggle with this one, right? I don't believe that I'm currently living a peacemaking lifestyle. So I'm thinking, what are the areas that I need to work on? Joel, we're married. I love him. I want to say something that I feel needs to be said. I don't think that peacemaking is always about getting your way and your point across.
No.
And your, you know, whatever satisfaction you get out of nagging. You know, sometimes peace is you deal with it.
Yeah.
Turning the other cheek.
Dude, did I send you that? Did I send you that meme where it says
I'm not on Instagram.
Eh?
I'm not on Instagram.
You're not on.
I'm taking it fast, guys.
Pero I sent it to you a couple weeks ago. It blew my mind. This girl was saying how la mentira que nos decimos ahorita en el modern world is happy wife, happy life.
Oh.
Que eso es del diablo. And her whole argument, I'm like, oh my God. You know, I'm not married. But I honestly wouldn't want my husband to be like, hey, so how's marriage? And for him to reply with, well, you know, happy wife, happy life. Whoa. Because that tells me, that tells people, really, aquí manda la esposa. Y no es así. No es así. No tiene que ser así. Entonces, we go back to what you were saying, to your statement of like, I shouldn't always get my way.
Right.
Peacemaking is about how can we both come together. How can, and then, you know, like, I feel like a lot of times, happy wife, happy life, that's a big lie, because us women, we're not always right.
Mm-mm.
We're not always gonna be right. Entonces el husband nada más está diciendo, no, pues como diga la esposa, pues como diga la esposa, pues como diga la esposa. Entonces, ¿dónde viene tu ministerio de ser el hombre de la casa? ¿Dónde viene tu liderazgo?
Right.
¿Tú a quién estás acudiendo? ¿A la esposa o a Dios?
No, y son oportunidades para que las mujeres se enaltecen.
Exacto.
Es para que ellas puedan decir, pues yo puedo hacer lo que quiera, decir lo que quiera, actuar como quiera, porque no, it goes beyond, you know, a la que manda soy yo. Es my desire and my comfort and my whatever comes first. And that's not, we should never make idols of ourselves. And women do that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Really pay attention with everything that, you know, the world tries to feed us about, oh, just because she's on her period, she can act like that. Just because she's a woman, she can act like that. Just because she wants it, she can act like that. Just because she's a mother, she can complain about that. Todo. It's like, it's making women out to be this uncontrolled, crazy, toxic, but somehow justifiable person.
And it's not.
And so going back to the peacemaking, I think that sometimes, and it's not just in marriage, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't talk to your husband and that you shouldn't have honest discussions
and let things slide.
You should let things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that as women, sometimes we have a tendency of nagging. Some women, not all, not those wise women. But some women are like, you know what, I want to say this, or I had a dream about you the other day, and in my dream you did this, and I want to talk about it and make a fight out of it.
No.
Those things that are like, why do you want to bring that up? Why do you want to get upset? Why do you want to do something with it? I think sometimes we do that with people, you know. Nomás estamos buscando, I want to say, I want to have my fight. Ya pasó lo que pasó, but I want to have the satisfaction to fight with you and to throw it in your face just because it's going to make me feel better that I gave you the full extent of my wrath. Yeah. Sometimes being peacemakers is saying, me hiciste mal, no me gustó, but you know what? I'm going to let it go. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, having that peace is way better than that fight.
Yes. Oh, it's not worth it.
It's not worth
It's not worth it. So it's one of those things of like ¿cómo se dice? What silence can do.
But you know what? Peacemakers can maybe go beyond that. I just had a brainchild. What if peacemakers are also people that are not worriers and not anxious people? People that are promoting having peace in the Lord, peace in the Word of God. ¿Dónde encuentras tu resolve? Where do you find your comfort? Are you finding that in the Lord? Though I feel like those people will guide you to God.
Yeah.
They'll say, you know what? You know, from everything you're sharing, everything you're venting, I think you need to pray.
Yes.
I think you need to go to God for that. I think you need to find that in the Word.
Yes.
Maybe peacemaking is also individuals who are not making doubt and worry and anxiety an idol.
Oof. Man, peacemaking really encompasses a lot of things, right? Because estás hablando de algo que solo Dios te puede dar.
Right.
Una paz verdadera, solamente Dios. Entonces, para que tú puedas ser un peacemaker, tu punto de partida or your reference point should always be God. It has to be. Has to be. Anything shorter than that va a ser fake. Or va a ser an illusion to peace. Pero no va a durar. Rápido se va. Pero una paz que viene de Dios, una paz verdadera, pues sí, solamente, if you want to be a peacemaker of that kind of peace, only through God, only through your relationship with God. Y pues, you know,
Food for thought.
yes, no, I agree. I think that was a very good point to have.
Again, areas I need to work on.
Yes. Pero we go back to the second part of that. For they will be called children of God. Para que tú puedas ser llamado hijo de Dios, tienes que ser un peacemaker.
Right.
No puedes estar por la vida, bueno, podemos, porque todo se nos es lícito, más no todos nos conviene. Pero sería muy, y lo hemos visto, pero es muy interesante cuando ves a alguien que dice, oh no, yo soy hija de Dios, pero no trae peace with themselves.
Which is it's so ironic, because if you are truly a child of God and you are living in a way that your relationship with Him is that He is your Father and you have this ease of a relationship to approach Him, that should bring peace.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
We live our lives not as if we're children of God.
Of God, yeah. Nada más, porque yo lo he visto y lo he vivido también. Oh, yo soy cristiana, and I expect somehow people will attribute me positive things, you know. And other people también lo he visto. Oh, I'm Christian, and they expect you to attribute them with positive things. With okay, so then han de ser honestos, han de ser esto, han de ser aquello, respetuosos, blah 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 blah. But then they see their behavior, porque por sus frutos se le conoceráis. Y you're like, that is not a child of God. That is just a creation of God, but not a child yet.
Right.
Porque para ser un child of God, tienes que tener peace. Y esa peace solamente va a venir through a relationship with God.
Right.
And blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now, I feel like this one, a lot of us will probably, I wouldn't say struggle, but I don't think we could fully understand persecution as other people maybe.
To that level.
To that extent. I do think we're persecuted as Christians. I do think that, I mean, in this modern world, con todo el transgenderism, con ideologies about women being better, ideologies about you gender and you can be whatever you want y todo eso, that is persecution to the church. That is how we as children of God were being persecuted. But I do think that
and there's always the basic ones. I don't drink, I don't have sex before marriage,
right, all that,
I don't celebrate Halloween.
That they attack you with that, right? Like, oh, you're such a prude, and it's like, no, I respect myself. That's what it is. I respect myself, and I bring honor and worship to God through my purity, through my, me waiting until marriage.
Okay.
And I don't drink lo mismo. I don't want to defile my body. this is a temple of God, and I want to treat it as such. So I think que en estas cosas también estamos siendo persecuted, pero I do think that persecution goes obviously farther, much farther than that. I do think that despite living this type of persecution, we're still here. We still get to meet every Sunday or every Wednesday or whatever. We still get to worship. We still get to voice our opinions. But in other countries where, for example, I was watching this documentary about North Korea, and this girl was saying how there are officials that are trained, Kes, to pick up on stuff from children's conversations to see if their parents are Christian. So at school, you'll have the teachers be vigilant of the children's conversation. And there are signs that tell the teachers, oh, we need to look into this household because this children's speaking something different. And sure enough, I mean, this documentary was talking about how sometimes parents hide from their children the fact that they are Christian, that they believe in Jesus, that they congregate in underground churches because of fear of their children saying things at school. And it's happened before. It's happened before. They were talking about this case of this one girl that she asked the teacher, hey, have you heard of this? Next day, they were there outside their home. They went through everything. Sure enough, they found Bibles. They
got arrested.
Not just arrested. They killed them. They made an example out of them. And you would think that the girl would get saved, or no, she got sent to the camps that they have there. What are they called? They're
like an internment camp.
Yeah. And so now she's living there for life. She's in there for life, just labor, and so, and obviously God knows what they do to her. But I thought to myself, man, can you imagine living in a world where you have to hide your faith from your own children, fully knowing that you want your child to be just as safe as you are, that you want them to have the same hope that you're having, only for your own child in a way to sort of give you to those people? I know. Now, no era culpa de la niña. La niña no sabía any better, right? And obviously these people are trained to pick up on those things. Esta niña porque se le ocurrió hablarlo, pero God knows how many children don't say anything, but with the conversations, and teachers were like, okay, no, we need to look into this home. And so that kind of persecution, I thought, man, that's tough. That's tough. But these churches are growing. These underground churches are growing. There's so many, like in this documentary, they were talking about how South Korea is sending messages through however means possible to help these churches grow. Material, Bibles, like, and it was just, I think I sent it to you, the video. The faith these people have, esa es fe de un grano de mostaza.
Oh, claro.
Esa es fe de un grano de mostaza. Literalmente están moviendo una nación. And so I don't know where I went with that.
But persecution.
And so I thought, what we go through on a daily, although it's hard,
no se compara. Y sabes, like, escuchando todo lo que estás diciendo, like, I think where it is sad is that, unfortunately, even though we are not, or I guess I shouldn't say unfortunately, fortunately we're not in that situation, but despite of that, unfortunately, the persecution that we are facing, somehow, some way, for some people, it does affect them. The simple fact that in their job, they're being questioned, why don't you drink? Sometimes believers are not faith-filled enough or brave enough to say, because I don't drink because I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't listen to this music, or because it says, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. That means that these are people that are living a righteous life. They're people that are trying to live according to the word of God. And so if you're obviously going to experience a level of resistance from people that you work with, because they're going to notice a difference. But sometimes it's even in the church. Sometimes it's even in the church that you are persecuted. You backslid and now you're trying to come back. ¿Cómo te va a tratar los hermanos? Mm-hmm. Or maybe you grew up a little bit different. And maybe you look a little different. How is the church going to respond to that?
Yeah.
Or perhaps you are trying to be a little bit more, I don't want to listen to that music anymore. I don't want to watch those movies anymore. It's like, ay, you're being a little too spiritual.
Ay, mira la santa.
Ay, mira la santa. Mm-hmm. Be careful with over spiritualizing, you know, because that's always a dangerous area, you know. So sometimes persecution, because we have to apply it to our lives, you know, while these things are happening, and it's a reality, and someday it's going to happen in the United States,
even
guys.
To us, yes.
It's going to get to us. We have to understand that if right now the little bit of peer pressure that you are feeling is enough for you and I to cower and maybe not be as vocal or as brave or as transparent about what we believe, that's dangerous, guys, because that means we're already susceptible to being controlled or susceptible to being converted to other ways.
¿Te imaginas? Push come to shove.
¿Qué vas a hacer? I think, and you know, I'm going to be very careful with what I say this. Regardless of where you stood in 2020 with masks or no masks, vaccinations or no vaccinations, whatever your stance was on that really showed you how quickly a divide can happen. Believers in the church were like, masks are the way. Others were like, no, masks are not the way. Vaccinations are the way. No vaccinations are the way. The way that you had some people that were like, we must follow this at all, you know, costs, or some people that were like, we must, you know, stand by this at all costs, you know, wherever you stood. What was dangerous about that is that how quickly, kind of like in the time of the Holocaust, a lot of people were like, oh, yo no voy a decir nada, and poquito, they turned a blind eye to what was happening with Jewish people, and before you know it, you have these camps. That's what was happening in the pandemic.
If you go to the Museum of Tolerance, it says there, maybe they've changed it, I don't know, it's been a while, but it says in one of many plaques, it says there that the war happened not because of cruelty, but because of indifference.
Exactly.
Because people never spoke up. Because people knew, deep down they knew this is wrong, and they complied. They never said anything.
And that's the problem with our age right now, is that, yes, we there's time and place for a lot of things. I'm not saying go risk your job and, you know, basically risk everything and start saying, you know, this is my political view, or this is my whatever stance, or this is my whatever. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that when you are asked, or when you are challenged, or perhaps when you are in a position where, you know, you are out of work, or you're in a public place and you are asked about your beliefs, what is your answer there?
Yes.
Where is your stance? Are you being bold enough to say, no, that's not what represents me, and you're willing to bear the persecution, as mild as it is, although in 2020 it really wasn't mild, because a lot of people were losing their jobs for depending on what stance they were having.
Yeah.
Where are you in that?
I think what I find very interesting about that is that things that are good will get you persecuted.
Right.
But things that are bad will get you exonerated. You know, will get you no me acuerdo quién, donde lo vi or whatever. I mean, it was Instagram, but I don't know who said it. It's a phrase of like, el día que llamemos lo bueno malo y lo malo bueno, ese día hemos perdido como sociedad. And I think we're there.
Yeah.
We're literally there, where we call good things bad and we persecute them, and we call bad things good and we exalt it, and that's the model now.
Right.
So I do think that if we're being persecuted, it's a good sign. Y la Biblia no se equivoca. La misma Biblia te dice, si estás sufriendo por el evangelio, vas bien. Porque tiene que ser así.
Yeah.
Todo lo bueno necesita lo malo,
right,
para poder
si
florecer.
quedas bien con todo mundo y nadie puede detectar que eres un cristiano, algo va mal. Algo va mal. Y que nos dé temor si nadie puede ver una diferencia en nosotros. Es que ya nos estamos mirando muy gris.
Ya. O negros de una vez. Y la verdad, amigos, es que en la Biblia, la misma Biblia, Dios es de blanco y negro. Dios no es de medios. Y la Biblia dice, por cuanto fuiste tibios, te vomitaré. Entonces, mejor o decidimos una cosa o lo otro, pero no en medio. No podemos estar en medio. Y ya la última sería, blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So that just pretty much closes up our whole Beatitudes.
Why is it called the Beatitudes? Because you need to be these attitudes. That is why.
Yes. Because this last one really pretty much is telling you, you will go through this. You will go through people insulting you, persecuting you, saying evil things against you because of God, but be glad, rejoice, because not only will there be a reward, but also because you're doing the right thing. You're walking with God. Once you're with Jesus, once you've received God in your life, once you've made changes, you will see ¿cómo se dice? Pues sí, people being against you. You will swim against the current. And I agree with Kez's point of, like, if in the little persecution we're going through, we cower y nos estremecemos, man, que Dios aguarde la hora cuando se venga algo fuerte, algo pesado, porque trust and believe will break. We will break. So más nos vale tener estar bien centrados en Dios, tener una buena decisión de que esto voy a hacer con Cristo y me voy a enfrentar a todo, aunque sea mínima esa persecution, because again, God forbid, que se llegue la hora, quiero estar firme y quiero estar listo. Morir es ganancia si me voy con Dios, and so I think before we close it up, I'd like to point out something que I think we pointed out last time too. Oh, ¿a dónde se fueron? Okay, never mind. That in order to have the previous beatitude, in order to have whatever beatitude you're talking about, you need the previous one. Because I don't know if you noticed, when we were talking about peacemaking, we were sort of also reflecting being pure in heart.
Right.
And when we were talking about being persecuted, right? You need to be first a child of God. You need to have that peace to handle that persecution, right? And porque que yo sepa, Dios no, o bueno, a lo mejor estoy yo mal, no sé, pero I think we are called to take a stance, to defend ourselves, to defend our faith. I don't think we're called to retaliate in just as aggressively, right? So even for that we need peace. Even to take the persecution, we need peace, right? We need to be like, I'll die,
right,
and I'll have that peace with me de que se va a hacer.
Like we told you guys, Lula and I, we challenged ourselves to try to be better and to have these attitudes and to study them and to really challenge ourselves and put ourselves on the surgical table, and it's like, this needs to be removed and that attitude doesn't belong, and what do I need to replace with what the Word of God says as to what I should look like after this procedure. And we hope that you guys are challenged. I hope that we ruffled your feathers. I hope that there was aspect there like, I do that too, and I should do that, or blah blah blah. Because at the point of everything that we try to do is that we're trying to be and look like Christians,
Yeah.
children of
Christ.
God.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to be representatives of the God that we serve and love. And so we hope that you guys enjoyed this 2-part series, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.